Presents not enough, or maybe you're after some fun for all the family. We'll share the best Christmas crafts that you can do at home.
And more than 100 migrants have crossed the English Channel today as more migrant boats are attempting to make a Christmas crossing. Hello, Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, everyone, and Merry Christmas, Charlie.
How was your morning?
Very nice. I was driving up from down the northwest.
Driving down
for Christmas. Although straight after the show, I will be driving home for Christmas. I will be getting that moment.
You didn't come down last night because Christmas Eve is a big thing for your family, yeah?
Yes, and I know they'll be watching. We always watch the Polar Express with hot chocolates in my family, and I'll be seeing them later. Mum, Dad, Eleanor and the cats, I'll be seeing you in a few hours' time for our Christmas dinner.
Christmas dinner.
First time Dad will be cooking it for a very long time, so, Dad, I'm expecting big things.
You mentioned there your cats. We very much want to see your pets today. Any Christmas pets who are joining you at home, please make sure you send your photos of your pets to gbviews@gbnews.uk, and you can send all your views and your comments to all of us throughout the show at gbnews.com/your say. But before we get cracking with a wonderful Christmas show, let's have your news headlines with Tatiana Sanchez.
Charlie, thank you very much and good morning. At the top stories, the King has attended the royal family's traditional Christmas Day church service after a brutal year in which he and the Princess of Wales were both diagnosed with cancer. The King and Queen Camilla walked the short distance from Sandringham House to St Mary's Magdalene Church past a crowd of well-wishers. And they were joined by the Prince and Princess of Wales and their children. Also in the walking party was the Princess Royal and the Duke and Duchess of Edinburgh. Absent, though, was the Duke of York, who's been accused of having links to an alleged Chinese spy. Meanwhile, King Charles is set to break with tradition later on today, delivering his annual Christmas message from a former hospital chapel. Well, the Princess of Wales, meanwhile, delivered her Christmas message yesterday evening during her annual Together at Christmas Carol service at Westminster Abbey.
Welcome to our Together at Christmas Carol service here at Westminster Abbey. The Christmas story encourages us to consider the experiences and feelings of others. It also reflects our own vulnerabilities and reminds us of the importance of giving and receiving empathy. It encourages us to turn to love, not fear. The love that we show ourselves and the love that we show others. Love that listens with empathy. Love that is kind and understanding. Love that is forgiving. And love that brings joy and hope. It is love which is the greatest gift we can receive, not just at Christmas, but every day of our lives. Because in times of joy and sadness, we are all each other's light. I wish you and your loved ones a very Merry Christmas.
The Archbishop of York, who will effectively take over as leader of the Church of England next month, is expected to call for change in his Christmas sermon today. Stephen Cottrell will deliver his remarks as the Church faces criticism over failures in its handling of various abuse scandals. Archbishop of Canterbury Justin Welby resigned last month after he was criticised for not doing enough to stop a prolific abuser. He will not preside over the Christmas service at Canterbury Cathedral. Earlier this week, Mr Cottrell acknowledged things could have been handled differently after revelations that a priest at the centre of a sexual abuse case was twice reappointed under him while he was serving as Bishop of Chelmsford. In other news today, hundreds of migrants have been crossing the English Channel in small boats on Christmas Day. More than 100 have already arrived in Dover Harbour in the early hours of today. Several boats were seen making that dangerous journey from France this morning, with more expected to follow over the course of the day. Those who arrived in Dover following early hours crossings broke a period of more than a week when no boats had been spotted. It comes after GB News exclusively revealed yesterday that thousands of migrants were massing along the northern coast of France, preparing to cross to the UK over this Christmas period. Elsewhere, a man has been arrested on suspicion of attempted murder after a car was driven onto the pavement in central London in the early hours of Christmas Day. 4 people were taken to hospital after the incident on Shaftesbury Avenue, with one said to be in a life-threatening condition. Metropolitan police officers were called to reports of a crash and a car driving on the wrong side of the road at 12:45 a.m. In a statement, police said the incident was isolated and not terror-related. All that as a 39-year-old man was shot dead by armed police on Christmas Eve. West Mercia police said officers were called by West Midlands Ambulance Service to an address in Worcestershire at around 2 o'clock yesterday afternoon after concerns were raised for the safety of a man with a knife. The force said attempts were made over several hours to deal with the incident, but the man was shot at around 7:40 yesterday evening. And overseas now, dozens of people have died after a passenger plane crashed with 67 people on board in Kazakhstan, according to local officials. The country's emergency ministry said there were 25 survivors. The plane was en route from Azerbaijani capital Baku to Grozny in Russia. Reports say it was diverted because of fog. There were 62 passengers and 5 crew members on board that aircraft, according to the Transport Ministry. And those are the latest GB News headlines for now. I'm Tatiana Sanchez. More from me in an hour.
Hello, welcome back. Thank you very much, Tatiana. Merry Christmas to you all. We usually have a sting there, it went, so you've got an exciting shot of us instead, looking a bit confused. But that's a free Christmas gift on us, if you like. Welcome back. We're going to talk to you about the Royals, because they've been at Sandringham today for their annual Christmas Day service, St Mary Magdalene Church in Norfolk. The royal family have attended those celebrations alongside that service. And we've got some lovely panellists with us today to talk through it. Our Christmas panel, commentator Paula London and...
former Labour advisor Matthew Talbot. Very good morning to you both. Good morning. I'm used to doing the morning programme. Good afternoon, I should say. And Merry Christmas to you both.
Thank you, you too.
Matthew, we'll come to yourself first. We've seen these pictures of the royal family. How important is it, do you think, to the nation to see these traditional scenes of the royal family attending the Christmas service?
I suppose it gives a feeling of business as usual, all things are well in the country and whatever else. The thing that I always find confusing, though, as someone that isn't very good at getting up in the morning, I put the news on at 7, 8 o'clock this morning, people queuing up just to see a glimpse of them. I suppose it shows, I can't get my head around it, but I suppose it shows whether it be the star power or the importance still placed on the royal family for lots of people up and down the country. So, yeah, no, it doesn't necessarily bother me, but it's nice to see them looking well and whatever else after their health battles this year.
Well, you mentioned that, Paul. We'll come to yourself now. Obviously, we've seen quite a difficult year for the royal family with Charles' conditions, with the Duchess of Wales. What do you make... I say Duchess of Wales, Princess of Wales, of course. Let's give her a proper title. Is it nice to see them, as Matthew says, looking well?
Yes, it really is, especially the King that's been very ill, and Kate was very ill. And also, I don't think the King speaks about being the titular head of the Church of England enough. So, obviously, we are legally a Christian country because of his title. So I love to see him in the church, and I think a lot of Christians in this country really appreciate it as well. So, yes, very good.
Brilliant. Yeah, and Paula, we saw her laden with flowers, Kate, as she arrived, clearly being essentially mobbed by supporters, which is a lovely thing to happen. Yeah,
I think it's beautiful. I'm happy we have a royal family. So many people around the world visit this country because we have a royal family, and they'd love to have it in their country. So, yeah, we've got I mean, they're not brilliant. Obviously, Andrew's not wonderful, but some of the other family are great.
Yeah, noted absence at the moment, Matt, that we didn't have the Duke of York attending today, obviously, with the current allegations of links with a Chinese spy, an alleged Chinese spy, causing a new round of consternation for him, actually, and a new round of anger towards the Duke of York, frankly. Yeah, no, I mean, the King hasn't got loads of hair, but I'm surprised he's not pulled the rest of it out the way that his brother acts sometimes. I think it's a wise move, certainly from a PR or communications point of view. If I was advising the royal family, I'd have him as far away as possible in a public setting. I think families are always dysfunctional, and they're no dysfunctional from the rest of us all. But, you know, you put on a united front and sort of hope he stays in the background and not distract from the nice scenes at Sandringham today.
Paula, we'll come to you on another topic then, if that's OK. This story about Nigel Farage offering to work with Peter Mandelson. What can you tell us about that?
I think it would be a great idea. Mandelson himself has actually acknowledged how good it would be because, obviously, Trump is very close to Farage and has been for quite a long time. And also, it could set a precedent. If they do work together and it's successful, cross-party cooperation would be a really good thing because, at the end of the day, we all live in this country. Obviously, America's the leader of the free world. And if we can get free trade deals and also talk about extremism through different countries as well and have the intelligence, it's only going to benefit us all. But I think Keir's a very stubborn man, and I don't think he'll really want Nigel's involvement. But he did say that the grown-ups are in charge, so he needs to act grown up and, you know, let people help each other. So, yes.
Matt, you're a Labour man. When you see these sort of proposed links between Farage, obviously now the leader of a surging political party, challenging Labour in a lot of these seats, do you find this believable, of links between Farage and Lord Mandelson and Labour in general to secure a greater relationship with Washington?
I think it's important to have the good relationship with Washington. I think it'll always be that way anyway. I struggle at times to believe Nigel's got quite the influence he lets on. I think he certainly knows Trump, he's friends with Trump, but is he that involved other than being on friendly terms and sort of knowing him a little bit? I think I'm always someone that likes to get things done regardless of who's in the room. I don't think there's an issue with telling Nigel, just give him a ring and let him know that we're all right and we'll get the best deal. I don't think he needs to be in the room, but they have to be careful politically. If you show the public that Nigel's got so much sway over things, they might question, well, why is he not Prime Minister anyway? And obviously Reform came second in 98 seats at the last general election, many of which Labour hold. And you've got to handle this a little bit with kid gloves and make sure Peter Mandelson's not freewheeling a little bit on this.
So a bit of a balancing act needed.
Correct.
Matthew, Paula, thank you very much for joining us. We'll obviously be coming back to you throughout the programme. But now, here's the Vocal Zone Voice Studio Choir from South Derbyshire.
And they're going to be playing and singing The Good King Wenceslas.
Good King Wenceslas looked out on the feast of Stephen, when the snow lay round about, deep and crisp and even. Brightly shone the moon that night, though the frost was cruel, when the poor man came in sight, gathering winter fuel. Hear the page and stand by me, if thou know'st its telling, yonder peasant, who is he, where and what is dwelling? Slightly little goodly nest, underneath the mountain, right against the forest fence, by St. Agnes' fountain. Bring me flesh and bring me wine, bring me pine loaves hither, thou and I will see him dine, when we get them thither. Age and honor for they went together, through the ruins of the rent and the bitter weather. Silent night is darker now, and the wind blows stronger. Fails my heart, I know not how, I can go no longer. Mark my footsteps to my page, tread thou in them boldly. Thou shalt find the winter's rage, breathe the goddess holy. In his master's steps he trod, where the snow lay dinted. It was in the very sod which the saint had printed. Therefore, Christian men, be sure, wealth or rank possessing, ye who now shall bless the poor, shall yourselves find blessings.
Wasn't that lovely? I'm getting quite used to this choir.
That was divine.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed that.
About a dozen
very nice,
or so.
very festive.
Extreme
very
art.
appropriate.
Appropriate and festive, yes.
Yes.
On Christmas Day. Well, hundreds of migrants are currently attempting to cross the English Channel by small boats on Christmas Day morning, and they're going into this afternoon as well. More than 100 have already arrived in Dover Harbour in the early hours today.
At least 4 more migrant boats are currently attempting to cross, with others expected over the coming hours. This comes after GB News exclusively revealed yesterday that thousands of migrants were missing along the northern coast of France, preparing to cross to the UK over the Christmas period. Now joining us is our Home Security Editor, Mark White. Mark, what can you tell us about this?
Well, actually, it's turning out to be an extremely busy day in the English Channel. As we reported yesterday, we're seeing thousands of migrants massing along the northern coast of France with a view over the coming days to trying to get to the UK. The first of those days, red days, they're described as by Border Force, is extremely busy indeed. We're told 10, maybe 11 boats that are out there in the Channel that have either now crossed to the UK waters and been taken to Dover or are still in the process of doing that. So that's going to be 500-600 at least by the end of the day. And what we were told by sources is that we could expect over the next 5 or 6 days, which is the run of really good weather, that we could see 2,000 or 3,000 cross the Channel, which is incredible given the time of year. We don't normally see more than 50 odd historically is about what we get if weather allows during this sort of time of year over Christmas. But to get such an influx of small boats coming in today is certainly very shocking.
And Mark, we've seen some reporting over the last week or so that some of the smuggling gangs are putting on special offers for Christmas to try and entice more people to get to northern France and attempt that crossing. How successful at the moment, looking at these crossings today, has Labour's plan to smash the gangs been at the moment?
Well, I think to be fair to Labour, it will be more of a long-term endeavour. It's going to take time to try to infiltrate and dismantle these very organised criminal networks who've had more than 6 years now to build up the way in which they do this, their supply lines, the sophistication with which they operate. So trying to dismantle them is not going to be a quick process. But you're right, the more time that passes, the more pressure there will be on Sir Keir Starmer and the Labour government to do something. And this year already, we're 20% ahead of where we were last year. We're 20% less than the record year in 2022. But still, it's, a busier year than last year, and still they keep coming.
Obviously, weather is a big factor, but what do you think it is that makes this year so much higher than last year?
Well, it's what they call, as I say, red days, and sources have pointed out to me that actually at the beginning of the year, we were still under the Conservatives. It was a record year at the beginning of the year, and things have slowed down a bit later in the year, but you've had more of these red days, and in the red days, the people smugglers are piling out more and more boats with more and more people on them, because there is a phenomenon now where mainly African migrants are not willing to pay the people smugglers. And what they do instead is a boat is about to launch with, say, 50-odd paying customers from a beach in France, and then about 2 or 3 dozen Africans will rush that boat as it's launching, pile on board, and then suddenly you've got about 100 odd on a boat. Makes it much more dangerous, and that's why also we're seeing the numbers increasing.
Mark, just very quickly, it's Christmas Day, obviously. Border Force, is the staffing sufficient? They're going to have a busy day today.
Yeah, absolutely. They are working overtime. There's quite a few Border Force vessels out there and dealing with it. In France this morning, though, the French equivalent of Border Force didn't spring into action until sort of mid-morning. It was French lifeboats that were dealing with the migrants coming out from the French coast. Well, maybe they were, or drinking a nice French wine.
Mark White, thank you very much for joining us in the studio. I'm sure we'll see you later in the programme.
Absolutely. This is Merry Christmas Britain on GB News. Lots more coming up today, isn't there?
Absolutely.
But for now, we will be heading to Surrey for a sneak peek of this year's Wintershall Nativity. That's after the break.
Hi there, I'm Michelle Dewberry and I'm going to take a second to tell you all about my show, Dubes & Co. We start off with the issues of the day. We then bring in both sides of the arguments. We get rid of the disrespect. And then you throw me into the mix. And trust me, I'll tell it exactly how it is. And then, of course, the magic ingredient, you at home. We mix it all together and what have we got, in my opinion, the best debate show in town. Monday to Friday, 6 till 7 on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Britain's newsroom, weekday mornings from 9:30.
It's about Generation Z spending 6 hours a day online. Generation Z, which age group is that?
16 to 24.
OK, great.
Now, this could explain why there's 1 million young people aged between 16 and 24
100%.
Not working.
in work.
Yeah.
And I did a TV show yesterday we're talking about, and the lefty person I was on with was making excuses for the fact that we've got 9 million people unemployed. And this woman, this mom, rang in, and she was hilarious. And I thought she was going to have a go at me. She said, Carol Malone. I thought, here we go, another one. And she goes, you are absolutely right. She said, I've just thrown my son out of the house, who's 24. She said, my husband and I, she said, we worked all our lives, 2 jobs, to get him to college, to get him to a private school. Yeah. She said, he hasn't worked a day.
No.
And his attitude was, why should I? And you think... And she said he spends all day online.
On his phone.
That's all he's
Because
doing.
we would have gone to get a job because we were bored. And the trouble is, Jonathan, the younger generation are never, ever bored because the algorithms keep them stimulated.
Well, the dopamine hits keep coming. I think it's actually a problem for all of us. Yeah. You know, now for anyone, if you just have a moment to yourself, a lot of people of all ages, what do we reach for? We reach for our phones, particularly for those. Obviously, if we're with a friend, we'll talk to them.
Your age group, you're not talking about...
I know that I've spoken to a lot of people who are in their 50s and 60s who also will just, you know, if they have a free minute on the tube or whatever, they'll just look at their phone and read. And it's actually terrifying because on the iPhone every Monday it tells you how much time you spent on your phone the previous week, and it's
How much for you?
On average, per day?
Fair few hours. I mean, a lot of that will be work.
What's the ballpark? Oh, more than 5?
Occasionally 5, yeah.
Well,
You've got better things to do.
Spending 6 hours a day.
Do you never read a book?
Well, that'll be at night time.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Join me, Camilla Tominey, for a frank and honest discussion with those in power that cuts through the spin and gets to the heart of the issues shaping our nation.
You haven't confirmed that you want to stand as leader, but you haven't ruled it out either.
This report basically says that he's not fit to stand trial. Is he indecisive? Incompetent?
I deliver the dose of reality Westminster needs. That's the Camilla Tominey Show at 9:30 every Sunday on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Well, Merry Christmas, Britain. You're joining us here once again, Sophie Reaper and Charlie Peters. The time is 23 minutes past 12.
Now, we've been asking you for photos of your pets all over the country. We're hoping to see some photos from our viewers far and wide, and I hope we've got a few we can show you now. So, Merry Christmas, everyone. That's our favourite station from the Pugs of Chiswick.
I love those ones. And then are they wearing hats? This is what, if you're sending in pictures, I need to see hats, I need to see decorations, festive pictures.
Yes.
And now we can see Ted and Peggy, who are enjoying GB News from Ruislip today. That's from Kim. Kim, oh, the dog on the right there in his little outfit. And then is the dog on the left wearing earmuffs?
I think they're being enticed with some food there, potentially, to look so smart, to look up.
And the gorgeous tree in the background as well. GB News colours on that tree. You like the one we've got here in the studio?
Could be a bauble from our shop, I reckon. And moving on, we've got a granddaughter, Lily, first Christmas. Oh, what a sweetheart.
That's good. That's not a pet, that's also welcome. We're in the baby spirit here after our gorgeous Olivia Utley shared images of her son yesterday, didn't she?
Yes, absolutely.
So the babies are also welcome.
Thank you, Lee, for the lovely photo of your daughter, Lily.
And the last picture, very biased here. This is my cat and my sister. That's Elton wearing the hats. My gorgeous Elton and my gorgeous sister Eleanor there in Bolton today. So very biased, but that's my favourite picture.
I think very smart face there.
Yes.
From Elton.
Oh, Elton. What a gorgeous boy.
Thank you very much. Right,
Anyway, moving on.
Let's do that. The birth of Christ. It's the most famous story in the world, and in Surrey, my county, an immersive theatre production is putting the audience into the middle of it.
It is indeed, with Romans, live animals and a real baby Jesus. The Wintershall Nativity attracts thousands of visitors every year, and our wonderful reporter Jack Carson has brought us this story.
People who walked in darkness have seen a great light, for unto them a son is born.
In the darkness of the Surrey countryside, the story of Jesus' birth comes to life in an immersive performance. The Wintershall Nativity began in 1989 as the brainchild of the estate's owners, Anne and Peter Hutley. Decades on, it's still a family affair, with daughter Charlotte de Clay producing the performance since 2014. There's more than 100 in the cast, a West End director and live animals to make the story of the Nativity engaging for the 5,000 audience that watch every year. The show starts as Mary is visited by the angel Gabriel, who tells her that she's going to have a baby boy and that he'll be called Jesus. This year, Harry Babington plays Joseph and Martha Allen plays Mary.
It's a whole new experience. You don't really know what to expect, but as you start to read the lines and understand the character, you get to really develop the feelings and emotions behind him and that sort of protective element of Joseph over his wife and child.
To continue acting the whole way up, it makes it feel real, like I'm genuinely doing the travel, because you can see everyone behind you following you, and they are struggling as well. It's a big hill, so it's really emotional to be able to do it with everyone, and everyone makes the journey together.
We're closed, we have no room.
With no room at any of the inns, Mary and Jesus stay in a stable before the birth of Jesus. In the hills near Bethlehem, an angel appears to a group of shepherds watching their flock to tell them of the birth of a baby who will bring peace on earth. Producer Charlotte de Clay describes the effort in making the production become a reality.
My sister, thank goodness, does all the animals because she's a farmer, so these are her sheep, and it's a friend of mine's horses, but that is hard. And they do say never work with children and animals, and here we are working with children and animals, and sometimes I'm thinking, oh no, here we go. We're seeing so many children now who seem to have a feeling of hopelessness. But this is a story full of hope, full of a future, full of love, really.
Far away, three wise men see a bright star in the sky, so they followed it to Bethlehem. There they find the newborn king and give him gifts of gold, frankincense and myrrh. It is a nativity performance like no other, but educating audiences on the Christmas story remains the most important part of this increasingly popular production. Jack Carson, GB News, Surrey.
Thank you very much for that, Jack. I remember I spoke to him actually after he filmed this and he told me how chaotic it was. And now seeing it, Jack, I know what you mean.
We get it. But it's a casting Christmas masterclass. Good man, thank you.
So welcome back to Merry Christmas, Britain.
Indeed.
Now, a bit of an interesting segment. Charlie and I decided that because we're both away from our families today for a while, we got each other Christmas gifts, didn't we?
Yes, we did.
So shall I go first?
Please, treat me.
Yes. Now.
I've been very nervous about this team.
I don't know why he's been nervous. I'm an excellent gift giver.
Oh, now that is resplendent.
There's an order. There's two in there.
Oh,
so
two.
There's two. They're linked. They're linked.
Thank you very much. Andrew, I'll pass you mine.
Oh, no.
Look, I think that's fun wrapping.
That's the worst wrapping I've ever seen.
On breakfast yesterday in the morning with Dawn Neeson, we had a gift wrapping expert come on.
And clearly you didn't listen to a word they said.
Paid a lot of attention. And I
just
disregarded...
What is this duct tape? Safety tape?
That is creativity. OK, that's creativity. Right, let me get stuck in.
You get tuck in. So the smaller one in there is the one you need to open first. And there's a little... I'll have to explain for our viewers at home.
When you say smaller, do you mean the...
That's the one, yes. Okay. So get that
now
open.
That is packing.
I pride myself on my gift wrapping.
Seriously impressive.
So get that, and I'll explain there's a bit of background to this one. So there's a bit of a little joke in the office. Now, Charlie's concerned that I'm mocking him with this gift. I'm not. There's a bit of a joke in the office that Charlie's a little bit posh, certainly posh compared to his northern colleagues like myself. So I got him a little mug. His lordship,
says.
And it's
a fine china.
Yes. So I thought you could use that in the office. Everyone likes having their own mug, so that's the mug.
Thank you so much.
But then if we move on to the next gift,
Okay.
they are linked.
Okay.
They are linked.
Okay. 2 for 1
Again,
deal.
I want you to just show that wrapping off because I'm
serious
quite proud
business.
of it. What
And it's
can I say?
especially for you.
Especially for you, because this is especially for you. Just careful when you're tearing into this.
No, I don't want to tear at all. This is masterful. This is delicate.
So...
Were you watching breakfast yesterday morning? Because clearly you paid some attention to
Mine
that.
gifts have been wrapped for weeks,
For
darling.
years.
Yes, I'm
years
very
you've been
organised. I'm not one of those last-minute people. So you've got the mug to use now.
Yes.
But you can't use a mug that says His Lordship without having the actual Lordship title. So what I did was I actually purchased you a bit of land.
I've got some land now.
It's a loophole in the law that actually means that your official title now, my love, is Lord Charlie David Peters.
Wow.
So I think we can see on screen maybe the certificate that's within there that is the... Oh, no, what we're seeing now, if you're at home, if you're watching on television, this is the part... It's not all of the land. I haven't bought you all that land. But your land lies within this estate in the Lake District.
Oh, my
So it's
word.
really rather beautiful.
I can see even... Oh.
So
it's
now
an
you...
area of outstanding natural beauty.
Yeah, and you can go and visit it. You can get in contact and they would tell you where it is. You're now going to see the certificate, Lord Charlie David Peters. That makes you an official lord.
Sophie, you're masterful. Congratulations on your immense gift selection. I feel honoured. I feel...
I just
well,
thought
I feel
it
titled.
suited you. And that is, if we can see this now, that is the crest that comes with the title. I think if we can see me there. There we are. That is the crest for Charlie's Lordship. So there you are, darling. Merry Christmas.
Thank you so much, Sophie. How about my gift? Should we get to that?
Have we got time for Charlie's gift? Very quickly, I'm told. Oh, I'd better get into it. I don't want to break a nail, but let's get into it. Oh, Fortnum & Mason. You see what I mean about the posh now?
Lordship's gone to
Fortnum & Mason.
Well, you told me you
darling.
were a sugar plum fairy today with your dress. And so I got you some sugar plums.
Sugar plums.
I thought some plums
How
for the
perfect. You
fairy.
know, I've never had a sugar plum.
Well, this is a Christmas new experience for you
Oh,
as well,
I'm very excited to try that, and I love the box. I'm going to keep that box forever.
Wow.
Thank you so much. Product of Portugal. My cameraman Jose will be thrilled because he's from
There we
Portugal.
go.
So
Well,
thank you very much.
Gifts for a lord and gifts for a fairy, which is...
Oh,
pretty wonderful.
how perfect
Merry
is
Christmas.
that?
Oh, you are watching.
Thank you very much.
Merry
Oh.
Christmas, Britain on GB News. There's lots more coming up on today's show. There's rapping all over me, and we're going to have lots more coming up after the news with Tatiana Sanchez.
Charlie, thank you very much, and good afternoon and Merry Christmas. While the King has attended the royal family's traditional Christmas Day church service after a brutal year in which he and the Princess of Wales were both diagnosed with cancer. The King and Queen Camilla walked the short distance from Sandringham House to St Mary Magdalene Church, past a crowd of well-wishers. They were joined by the Prince and Princess of Wales and their children. Also in the walking party was the Princess Royal and the Duke and Duchess of Edinburgh. Absent, though, was the Duke of York, who's been accused of having links to an alleged Chinese spy. Meanwhile, King Charles is set to break with tradition today, delivering his annual Christmas message from a former hospital chapel. And you can watch the King's message live here on GB News at 3 o'clock. The Archbishop of York, who will effectively take over as leader of the Church of England next month, is expected to call for change in his Christmas sermon today. Stephen Cotterill will deliver his remarks as the Church faces criticism over failures in its handling of various abuse scandals. Archbishop of Canterbury Justin Welby resigned last month after he was criticised for not doing enough to stop a prolific abuser. He will not preside over the Christmas service at Canterbury Cathedral. Earlier this week, Mr Cotterill acknowledged things could have been handled differently after revelations that a priest at the centre of a sexual abuse case was twice reappointed under him while he was serving as Bishop of Chelmsford. And hundreds of migrants have been crossing the English Channel in small boats on Christmas Day. More than 100 have arrived already in Dover Harbour in the early hours of today. Several boats were seen making the dangerous journey from France this morning, with more expected to follow over the course of the day. Those who arrived in Dover following early hours crossings broke a period of more than a week when no boats had been spotted. It comes after GB News exclusively revealed yesterday that thousands of migrants were massing along the northern coast of France, preparing to cross to the UK over this Christmas period. And those are the latest GB News headlines for now. I'm Tatiana Sanchez. More from me in half an hour.
If you want your news to be straight talking...
This is a nightmare for the Conservatives again.
Down to earth.
It's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it?
And most importantly, honest.
Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get their book thrown at them.
Then catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
It's Patrick Christie's Tonight, and here we do things differently.
It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it?
It's explosive.
I mean, this is very good.
It's lively.
850. Your government sat there short and it did nothing.
It's controversial.
And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born.
It's everything you need to kickstart your evening.
Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it.
That's Patrick Christie's Tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi there, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and I'm going to take a second to tell you all about my show, Jubes & Co. We start off with the issues of the day. We then bring in both sides of the arguments. We get rid of the disrespect, and then you throw me into the mix. And trust me, I'll tell it exactly how it is. And then, of course, the magic ingredient, you at home. We mix it all together, and what have we got? In my opinion, the best debate show in town. Monday to Friday, 6 till 7 on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more. Whether it's breaking royal news, Will, please bring us up to date, or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, you didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Every Saturday, 10 till 12, we'll bring you all of the news that you need to know. We'll also remind you that there is so much to smile about.
It's my favourite time of the week. I get to relax, enjoy some light-hearted stories, and let Ellie teach me about fashion too.
That's Saturday Morning Live, every Saturday, 10 till 12.
Only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Camilla Tominey, for a frank and honest discussion with those in power that cuts through the spin and gets to the heart of the issues shaping our nation.
You haven't confirmed that you want to stand as leader, but you haven't ruled it out either.
This report basically says that he's not fit to stand trial. Is he indecisive? Incompetent?
I deliver the dose of reality Westminster needs. That's the Camilla Tominey Show at 9:30 every Sunday on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Well, now we are into the afternoon. Most of you will be preparing for your Christmas lunch with your family or tucking in to your first meal of the day.
Now, from turkey to roasted Brussels sprouts, pigs and blankets and mince pies, there's an array of festive favourites that we'll be enjoying this Christmas.
So let's take a look at the top tips on how to make the best Christmas dinner from two chefs, Janie and Susie.
Right, here we go. Hello and happy Christmas. Happy Christmas. Today we're going to show you some of our top tips for making your Christmas meal a 10 out of 10. Absolutely. Right, what should we start with, Jay?
Well, let's start with the roasties, which are very important. I think I would say that the roast potatoes and the gravy are probably everyone's favourite.
Yeah, I think gravy trumps mine, but let's...
So I think we'll start with the potatoes and the gravy. Yeah. And then we'll think of the other little tippies we might have.
Yeah, we might have something else in the oven.
So get the potatoes out of the oven.
Shall I get a... I'll get a serving spoon. These are really Janie's specialty. Do you want to talk through your potatoes?
Well, my potatoes are... They were started off by being obviously cut up into sort of that size. I've gone for that size, but you can have bigger if you like. And boil them for about 5 to 10 minutes until just before a knife goes right through.
Is that what parboiling is?
Parboil.
When it says parboil, you don't know what it means.
Sieve and shake, 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 and get all the moisture off. They need to air dry. And once they've air dried, you put them into hot fat. It can be sunflower oil, duck fat, beef fat. I've actually done it with pork before as well.
Yeah, that works.
Da-da-da-da, all over. Seasoning, salt and pepper, and straight in the oven. And I usually do about 25 minutes, and then I look at them, turn them round. Sometimes with a skewer, you have to turn them to get the, you know, like that.
Yeah, like that.
Back in the oven, and you should have them looking like this after 45 minutes to an hour.
Look at that sizzle, Jay. Oh, actually, do you know what? I think these might be even better with the gravy. Shall I get the gravy?
I'll get the gravy, which I think needs a bit of thickening.
Right, let's see.
So while
Janie's going to get the gravy.
My gravy's a little bit runny, so a bit on the runny side. I will be adding turkey juices to it, but I've made gravy ahead, and I'm going to thicken it with some corn flour and red wine.
So the great thing about gravy, in my opinion, it's the best thing on the list, and you can put anything you want in it. Any leftover liquid, booze, vinegars, jam, something sweet as well. But don't panic too much. Just anything you can find, get it in, give it a taste, and as long as you like it, that's all that really matters.
This is going to be a gluten-free gravy.
Yeah.
So if I put that in now, you stir.
Yeah, that looks.
And this will thicken beautifully. Because you don't want it too runny. You want it coating the back of a spoon, sort of. Which it will do in a minute.
Yeah, not yet.
I hope.
Bear with us.
Fingers crossed.
It will coat the back of the spoon. Oh, look, it is thickening, Jamie.
It's thickening. Let me just put it back on the boil for a minute and I'll bring it back in a minute.
OK, here we go. Hang on, don't burn your hand.
OK.
I'll do it. Right. OK.
And then the other tip we've got, so many people hate Brussels sprouts.
This is a good one.
That we've done a tester here.
So, yeah, as people hate them, fart material is what my mum calls it.
Is that what it is?
Right.
Well, this is shallots and bacon, gently fried till it's crispy, and then you parboil your sprouts for about 2-3 minutes, strain them, put them with the shallots and the bacon, put some double cream and mustard in a little saucepan, bring it to the boil, pour it over, then into a dish like that with some cheese on top. And it will become a gratin.
It's basically a sprout gratin as well, something you'd find on the mountains. And it's a delicious way to get your kids to eat the greens when they complain about it.
Well, I'm not sure the kids might not like that as much as some of the adults, I would say. I think
you're right.
How are you ever going to get a child to like a Brussels sprout? I think that takes years.
I used to quite like Brussels sprouts.
Good girl.
Right.
Good girl.
Gravy, let's get it, and then we can
get
have
the gravy and see what the consistency's like.
Yeah. As well as the taste. Oh, is something burning? Hang on. There we go.
Your nuts.
Oh, yeah, my nuts. It's the second thing that I've burnt today, all right, so mistakes do happen. Right, quick taste.
I reckon that's quite a good consistency,
yeah, delicious, yeah. Coating at the back of the spoon, which is perfect. And you can always have a bit more.
Should I put some on the potatoes?
Yeah, put some. I mean, the trick with gravy is you want it to taste as good as soup.
It tasted good anyway before I put the thickening in.
It's not too shabby, that. Yeah,
I'm use my fingers here.
Right. Fluffy, delicious.
Roasty and gravy coming up.
I'm quite excited about these sprouts, Do you mind? Sorry, can I eat some of these?
They're not quite ready.
Right, well, can I...
They need to be boiling hot, but they'll still taste OK. Right, you're going for the sprouts, I'm going for the potatoes.
That is banging. Delicious.
They're lovely and crispy, and the gravy is delicious with them.
Are those our top tips for Christmas?
That's 3 things ticked off.
Yeah, you don't even need the turkey. Anyway, have a lovely Christmas and thanks for watching. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Susie and Janie say, how do you get a kid to eat a Brussels sprout? Very simple, cook them in bacon. That's always worked for me.
Unless you're a vegetarian.
Well, that is a good point. Well,
then that's going to put them off.
How many vegetarian kids are there? I'm not really sure. That's more of an adult choice, isn't it? Don't you think?
Who knows?
Got a favourite part of your Christmas meal?
Pigs in blankets and gravy for me.
Ever had devils on horseback, prunes in bacon?
No, and that doesn't...
It's very good. It's very good.
I feel like that would help me stay regular, but other than that, not for me.
My former flatmate, Nick, today he's having angels on horseback, which is oysters cooked in bacon.
That's better.
Sounds interesting.
I like the sound of that.
On that note, this is Merry Christmas Britain on GB News. There's lots more coming up on today's show, including getting creative with this Christmas with some arts and crafts. Don't go anywhere. We'll see you in just a tick.
If you want your news to be straight talking...
This is a nightmare for the Conservatives again.
Down to earth.
It's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it?
And most importantly, honest.
Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get the book thrown at them.
Then catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Camilla Tominey, for a frank and honest discussion with those in power that cuts through the spin and gets to the heart of the issues shaping our nation.
You haven't confirmed that you want to stand as leader, but you haven't ruled it out either.
This report basically says that he's not fit to stand trial. Is he indecisive? Incompetent?
I deliver the dose of reality Westminster needs. That's the Camilla Tominey Show at 9:30 every Sunday on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
It's Patrick Christie's Tonight, and here we do things differently.
It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it?
It's explosive.
I mean, this is very good.
It's lively.
850. Your government sat there short and it did nothing.
It's controversial.
And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born.
It's everything you need to kickstart your evening.
Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it.
That's Patrick Christie's Tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
In the GB newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
We're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News.
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more. Whether it's breaking royal news, Will, please bring us up to date, or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi there, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and I'm going to take a second to tell you all about my show, Jubes & Co. We start off with the issues of the day. We then bring in both sides of the arguments. We get rid of the disrespect, and then you throw me into the mix. And trust me, I'll tell it exactly how it is. And then, of course, the magic ingredient, you at home. We mix it all together, and what have we got? In my opinion, the best debate show in town. Monday to Friday, 6 till 7 on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Merry Christmas, Britain. Welcome back. Hope you're having a lovely time at home. We are here in the studio, having a good time.
Yes, we are indeed.
Absolutely.
Now, just before the break, we saw that lovely package, didn't we, about how to make the best Christmas dinner.
Yes.
How to make... And one of the things that we talked about was how to make sprouts palatable. Well, some of our viewers, some of our lovely viewers have been writing in. So we've got Stephen Butler saying, thick Bisto gravy on your sprouts. Other brands of gravy are available, I have to say, but I completely agree with you. I think any thick gravy on anything makes anything better, but that's probably because I'm a northerner.
There we go. A lot of people saying that they're going to have turkey today. Now, Turkey Crown, we've got Bag Lady Night. That's an interesting name, Bag Lady. Great to have you with us. Honey glazed carrots and parsnips. We're having goose at home.
I would expect nothing less from
his
Lord Charlie Peters.
There we go. I've got the mug with me.
He's got the mug. Perhaps forced by me. I'm forcing him to use it, essentially. But no, we will be having turkey. We're very traditional in our house. We have turkey, stuffing, pigs in blankets. Although, actually, we do have Yorkshire puddings. And I know that can be quite a controversial thing. I don't think... Do you have Yorkshire puddings? On your Christmas lunch, specifically?
Check in with my old man now. Get back to you before the one. But...
Feel free to write in on your say. Let us know, is it appropriate to have a Yorkshire pudding? Obviously, you can have them on a normal roast dinner, but what about on a Christmas roast dinner?
Sure, it's a seasonal thing, isn't it?
Maybe. Well, we're definitely going to have them. I know my sister will have at least 2, if not 3. So, sorry, Eleanor. You definitely will, though.
She's featured heavily in this programme.
She has indeed. Yeah. But we've also asked, haven't we? We've asked our lovely viewers to send in some pictures of your festive pets today, because, of course, a pet is for life, not just for Christmas.
Absolutely.
And just to tease a little bit later on in the show, we're going to be joined by a dog in the studio, aren't we, Charlie?
Yeah, which
we're very excited. That's the only reason I'm here today.
Could be a Christmas telly masterclass. Getting a what kind of dog is coming? Do you know?
I think it's a crossover breed. It's a word I can't pronounce.
That doesn't entice you enough. We're going to have a dog psychic. A dog psychic will also be with us. Well, let's get our first pet up, which is going to be Cocker Spaniel Roxy. Really gorgeous.
Oh, from Steve Carroll and Mum Mavis in Hindley, Wigan. That's not too far from me. So thank you for sending that in. Next one, we can see Buddy the Yorkshire. Oh, that
lovely little terrier.
Gorgeous.
Out dog walking today with friends on the North Antrim coast. Beautiful. Top of Northern Ireland.
And thank you. Great programme. Avid GB News listeners, happy Christmas. Thank you very much for that.
For those
good to have you with us.
And those listening on the radio, this is a gorgeous view. I think that might be Portrush in the distance there with the... I know that rail line very well. Now, we're going to move on to a gifts section because while it's tempting to allow the kids to watch a marathon of Christmas films, why not consider being a little bit more creative?
Absolutely. Christmas crafts are a great way for the family to gather together and compete to make the best decorated wreath. I think that's something that we'd be doing in our household. So let's get a bit more on that. Let's talk to the founder of Craft Courses, Kate Dumartin. Kate, thank you so much for taking time out of your lovely Christmas for joining us today. What crafts have you been working on this Christmas?
Well, since you should ask, then this is something that me and the team started making on Friday. It's not completely finished, but you can see this is actually a lantern made entirely of wrapping paper. And we've put little tassels on the bottom. So we just used a bowl for the mould and then PVA glue with water and lots of layers, let it dry, and then did the final layer with some really beautiful wrapping paper that I've got a few months back.
Kate, it's beautiful. I mean, at Christmas, I think a lot of people, they get the family background and they're looking desperate for something for the kids to do. I think a lot of people are getting nervous about so-called iPad kids, children just sat in front of a screen all day. Are you trying to make sure that more families have arts and crafts sort of available to them to keep their children and indeed the whole family entertained?
Yeah, I mean, it's absolutely a problem in my family. I'm a mum of 3 young kids, so they're all kind of wannabe screen addicts. So it's always a bit of a battle, isn't it, trying to kind of find things that are enticing enough to get them off. So this was actually made by my colleague Rosie and her 2 kids. But you can see it's a little fox made of paper, nestled in a sort of beautiful love heart sculpture. And my kids, not quite as artistic as that, made a few baubles. So this one is not completely finished. And unfortunately, they didn't actually put the cling film around. They forgot that bit. So this one won't be, unfortunately, used. But we did have some success making these very simple, just basically orange segments, dried in the oven or dried on top of the stove, and then hung on the Christmas tree.
Just goes to show, Kate, doesn't it, that it doesn't matter the skill level or the talent level. Anyone can get involved with crafts. But in terms of Christmas morning, obviously this is the time where children will be opening all their presents. They'll want to play with everything that they've been given. How can parents tempt their children, perhaps, to get away from the iPads, get away from the toys, and maybe get involved in something a bit more creative? What advice would you have for parents?
I mean, it is a really tough one, but we enjoy experiences. So, for example, this year, my dad's put some money towards our season passes for the local wildlife park, but in terms of craft courses, I mean, what we're offering is basically, we're the largest community of art and crafts people all across the UK. All of our tutors, well, obviously they pass it on, whether that's teaching or you go on a course, maybe give it to someone. So we sell gift vouchers against all of those courses. I mean, this is a trend that's kind of up and coming, because I think a lot of us are stuck on screens. I mean, it's not just the kids. We find ourselves pretty much on screens way too much of the time. And actually making and doing something, you get a sense of meaningfulness, a sense of accomplishment. I mean, I don't know if either of you 2 are into arts and crafts, whether it be a day in the blacksmith's forge or, making a leather satchel might be appealing.
I don't think I'm creative enough for that, Kate. I really don't. Maybe that's something I should try, though.
You certainly are. Well, Kate, thanks so much for joining us. Kate Dumartin, the founder of Craft Courses.
And Merry Christmas to you as well, Kate.
And thanks for coming on GB News today. Not creative enough, Sophie. No, I just can't believe that.
No, I don't think so. When it comes to, like, baking or cookery or things like that, I can be a bit creative. Yeah. But in terms of arts and crafts, I mean, it's just not my forte, unfortunately.
I love ceramics at school, pottery.
Really?
Yeah, being able to make a gift.
Oh, we didn't have pottery. We had woodwork or textiles.
Serious carpentry, that's a skill.
Yeah, well, that's I don't know if it was serious carpentry. I wouldn't call it that, certainly not.
Stick to paper mache for some, I think. It's the easiest way.
I think that might be the best bet for me.
But a lot of people do bring out their art and crafts moment just for Christmas to get something on the tree, right?
Yes.
To have that one homemade element on. Well, this is Merry Christmas Britain on GB News. Lots more coming up on today's show. Don't go anywhere. But first, let's have a look at the weather forecast, because, Sophie, it's pretty warm today, don't you think?
Certainly more so than usual.
Yeah.
No snow anyway.
It's not a white Christmas, that's for sure.
will give way to a lovely, warm afternoon. Boxed heat pumps, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello there, good afternoon. Hope you're having a lovely Christmas. Most of us have been blessed with a dry Christmas from the weather gods, and that is all courtesy of an area of high pressure that is centred across parts of continental Europe, but it's extending its influence across areas of the UK as well, particularly the southern half, where things are generally largely dry. We do, though, have this cold front in the far northwest, which is bringing some outbreaks of rain here. Elsewhere into this evening and overnight, again, largely dry. A few spots of drizzle to watch out for, and there'll be a few cloud breaks over eastern areas as well. You might see a few fog patches around overnight. Temperatures, though, certainly underneath that cloud are not going to be too chilly for most of us, ranging between 6 and 9 degrees Celsius. As we start off Boxing Day then, that front in the far northwest will have just slipped its way a little bit further southwards, so those outbreaks of rain spreading into parts of central Scotland and also into Northern Ireland first thing in the morning. Far north of Scotland actually seeing some sunny spells to kick off the day. Further in the south for England and Wales, again, it is going to be a largely cloudy day for the vast majority. It's going to be parts of Yorkshire through into parts of north-eastern Wales, where we might see a few of those breaks in the cloud if you're to the east of some higher ground areas. Underneath the thickest cloud, I certainly can't rule out the odd spot of drizzle once again, but it should mostly be dry for much of England and Wales. Temperatures perhaps a little down compared to what we have been seeing throughout Christmas Day, but certainly still on the mild side for most of us. Again, if you're to the south of this rain band, you'll be seeing temperatures climb into double-digit figures, 10 or 11 degrees Celsius. For the north of Scotland, though, something a little cooler and fresher filtering its way in, 7 or 8 degrees Celsius here. And we're going to be watching this band of rain because it's acting as a boundary line between those cooler and milder conditions. As we head over the next few days, it looks like that front might just slowly push its way southwards into the weekend, and that will see those cooler conditions arriving for many of us. Enjoy the rest of your day. Bye-bye.
We can expect clear skies, leading to a light and warm day ahead. Lovely. Boxed Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Imagine getting a call to tell you that you've won £50,000 in tax-free cash, our biggest cash prize of the year.
Oh my God.
That's a big surprise.
Oh my God. This is amazing.
I'm in shock.
I'd say don't hesitate, do it.
For another chance to win, text cash to 63232. One entry costs £2 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63232. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start from just £2. You can call 0903 681 3232. Calls cost £2 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB10 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 6 p.m. on the 31st of January. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
GB News Breakfast. Every day from 6 a.m.
So maybe people are opting for the more traditional ways of meeting people.
Organically.
Meeting organically.
It's the only way to actually... Well, I know some people have
it's worked very well for some people. I mean, I personally think that doing things more organically is probably going to be better, or it's more to my taste. It has worked well for lots of people.
So I absolutely agree. There's a very interesting young woman, she's about 22, who writes on this and has a podcast called Freya India. And she talks about this dating industry, and she said all she ever wanted to do as a teenager was go down the pub and meet a man and fall in love. And the dating apps just don't do that. And she said they've become so, it's just literally people looking for sex. We need to get back to traditional ways of meeting face to face, but we also need to stop toxifying it. A man flirting with a woman is not toxic. Men and women have done this for years. Obviously, we need to know about boundaries, but we also need to allow men and women to do what comes naturally.
I think it's also about spontaneity in society. It's much harder to just randomly go out in an evening in London and not know what you're doing and have a good time than it was, I think, 15 years ago or so. Yeah, and if you don't have spontaneity in your life in general terms, then that spontaneous meeting with someone is less likely to happen.
I think it's also where you are, because I was just thinking, as you said, that London, going out to try and meet someone in London, is one thing. If you live in a small town and you go down your local pub, there's probably you're more likely to meet someone that you get to know over a period of time. And
but this is also why we need to support our pubs and our hospitality areas, because they are important social integrators. They really are.
Yeah. GB News, the People's Channel.
Merry Christmas, Britain. The time is bang on 1 o'clock. I'm Sophie Reaper.
And I'm Charlie Peters.
Crowds have gathered at Sandringham after the royal family met onlookers as they left their Christmas Day church service at Sandringham.
Now, are you preparing to tuck into your Christmas Day feast? Well, find out, because one item may be missing from your table.
We'll also have all the latest on how to ensure your pets enjoy the festive period and why it's important to remember that pets aren't just for Christmas.
And more than 100 migrants have crossed the English Channel today as more migrant boats are attempting to make a Christmas crossing. Welcome back. Merry Christmas. Hope you're having a lovely day at home. It's on that wide shot. We've got Matt with us, Matthew, and we've got Paula as well, who'll be joining us for a chat later. Just very quickly, I want to talk about your coat, Matthew.
There's been a lot of questions about the coat. I like it.
What question? I've come merely as a Christmas bauble for the festive season.
I thought it might be a royal purple.
We can go with that. We can go with that. We can go. I have had a friend text to say you're nipping to the petrol station at dead at night and no one can see what's underneath the desk. So maybe that is. Got slippers on here. Nobody notices.
Well, we all have actually, haven't we?
Is that when people go out in their pyjamas, sort of thing?
Yeah, it looks like it, doesn't it?
Would you?
I've heard about this issue.
Oh, honestly.
Can't say I've done it myself.
Deary me.
Paula, I think you look very nice in your red.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I tried.
The festive colour red, isn't it?
Yeah, I like red, and I thought it's Christmas, and I thought I'd dress like a female Santa Claus, so red and white.
Mrs. Claus.
Mrs. Claus, indeed. Or Ms. Claus, or Miss Claus.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, we've been asking you this morning about Christmas dinners, haven't we?
Yes.
And we've had some very interesting comments, particularly about Yorkshire puddings. Now, I said in the last hour that we would be having, at my house, we would have Yorkshire puddings. You said you were going to check, didn't you?
Yeah,
but we've also had other people. Janet Hill says, if you want a Yorkshire pudding, have a Yorkshire pudding. I think that's fair enough, isn't it?
Simple as, quite frankly.
Solomon also says it's not a proper dinner without a Yorkshire pud and gravy. I completely agree with you, Solomon. I completely agree with that.
Yorkshire puds or not, please do let us know what you're having for your Christmas lunch. And you can send your views and post your comments by visiting gbnews.com/your say. But before we hear more from you, let's have our news headlines with Tatiana Sanchez.
Charlie, thank you very much and good afternoon. The top stories. The King attended the royal family's traditional Christmas Day church service today after a brutal year in which he and the Princess of Wales were both diagnosed with cancer. The King and Queen Camilla walked the short distance from Sandringham House to St Mary Magdalene Church past a crowd of well-wishers. They were joined by the Prince and Princess of Wales and their children. Also in the walking party was the Princess Royal and the Duke and Duchess of Edinburgh. Absent, though, was the Duke of York, who's been accused of having links to an alleged Chinese spy. Meanwhile, King Charles is set to break with tradition today, delivering his annual Christmas message from a former hospital chapel. And you can watch the King's message live here on GB News at 3 o'clock. The Princess of Wales, meanwhile, delivered her Christmas message yesterday evening during her annual Together at Christmas carol service at Westminster Abbey.
Welcome to our Together at Christmas carol service here at Westminster Abbey. The Christmas story encourages us to consider the experiences and feelings of others. It also reflects our own vulnerabilities and reminds us of the importance of giving and receiving empathy. It encourages us to turn to love, not fear. The love that we show ourselves and the love that we show others. Love that listens with empathy. Love that is kind and understanding. Love that is forgiving. And love that brings joy and hope. It is love which is the greatest gift we can receive. Not just at Christmas, but every day of our lives. Because in times of joy and sadness, we are all each other's light. I wish you and your loved ones a very Merry Christmas.
The Archbishop of York emerged smiling from his Christmas Day service in the North Yorkshire city to greet well-wishers and tourists outside the Minster. The Archbishop of York, who will effectively take over as leader of the Church of England next month, has called for change in his Christmas sermon. Stephen Cotterill delivered his remarks as the Church faces criticism over failures in its handling of various abuse scandals. Archbishop of Canterbury Justin Welby resigned last month after he was criticised for not doing enough to stop a prolific abuser. He didn't preside over the Christmas service at Canterbury Cathedral. Earlier this week, Mr Cotterill acknowledged that things could have been handled differently after revelations that a priest at the centre of a sexual abuse case was twice reappointed under him while he was serving as Bishop of Chelmsford. Hundreds of migrants have been crossing the English Channel in small boats on Christmas Day. More than 100 have already arrived in Dover Harbour. In the early hours of today, several boats were seen making that dangerous journey from France this morning, with more expected to follow over the course of the day. Those who arrived in Dover following early hours crossings broke a period of more than a week when no small boats had been spotted. It comes after GB News exclusively revealed yesterday that thousands of migrants were massing along the northern coast of France, preparing to cross to the UK over the Christmas period. A man has been arrested on suspicion of attempted murder after a car was driven onto the pavement in central London in the early hours of Christmas Day. 4 people were taken to hospital after the incident on Shaftesbury Avenue, with one said to be in a critical, life-threatening condition. Metropolitan police officers were called to reports of a crash and a car driving on the wrong side of the road at 12:45 a.m. In a statement, police said the incident was isolated and not terror-related. A 39-year-old man was shot dead by armed police on Christmas Eve. West Mercia Police said officers were called by West Midlands Ambulance Service to an address in Worcestershire at around 2 o'clock yesterday afternoon after concerns were raised for the safety of a man with a knife. The force said attempts were made over several hours to deal with the incident, but the man was shot at around 7:40 yesterday evening. And swimmers across the nation have braved the chilly waters as they celebrate Christmas Day with a festive plunge. Many swimmers turned out in support of various charity causes, with others simply enjoying a festive tradition. Sea surface temperatures across the country were between 8 degrees and 11 degrees, according to the Met Office. But plucky bathers, including many dressed as Father Christmas, snowmen and elves, woke up early to take the plunge in Bournemouth if you're watching these pictures on television. The enduring Peter Pan Cup was also strongly attended in London's Hyde Park, with swimmers taking part in the world's oldest annual swimming event. And those are the latest GB News headlines for now. I'm Tatiana Sanchez. More from me in half an hour.
Well, Merry Christmas, Britain. You're rejoining us here on GB News. The time is 7 minutes past 1, and we're joined now, aren't we, by our lovely panel, Paula and Matt. Now, we want to talk quickly about our pets because we've teased that at the top of the show. I don't know if either of you have got any festive pets.
I have a little dog. I call her my daughter. She's 16. Her name's Callie.
We'll have to get a picture for the next bit.
Those, yeah.
Matt, any festive pets?
Not festive, just a little bit before Christmas. A puppy called Lucy, a little sausage dog. So definitely not just for Christmas.
Not just for Christmas.
No, definitely not. Well, Charlie, you go ahead.
Please, because I'm desperate to read out this one. It's Jack Carson, our wonderful reporter in the West Midlands. He's been in touch, and this is his dog, Purdy, wearing her Christmas bandana. Look at that. And we want to hear from you, see pictures of your pets, of course, as well, because that's a beautiful Purdy.
Purdy is gorgeous. Jack and I often talk about our pets. Speaking of, I'm going to bring up my cat again, little Elton. There we are in his Christmas hat alongside my sister there this morning. I'll be rejoining them up in Bolton a little bit later on today. But please do keep sending us in your pictures, gbviews@gbnews.uk.
Looking forward to a few more of those. Well, moving on now, the royal family will attend their annual Christmas celebration on the Andringham estate today, alongside a morning service at St Mary Magdalene Church in Norfolk.
But of course, it's been a tough year for the family, with both the King and the Princess of Wales undergoing cancer treatment. So now let's talk to Jack Stooks, the former senior gardener to King Charles III. Jack, thank you so much for taking time out of your Christmas day for joining us here on GB News. What did you make of those pictures we saw from Sandringham this morning?
They were wonderful, weren't they? I think the crowds came as far as Australia to see the family, and how wonderful it was to see them all come in and looking as well as they can look for the year that they've had. We saw the amazing pictures of the Princess of Wales taking all those flowers. I mean, she was completely laden with flowers, wasn't she? And that just shows how adored and loved that the family and the Prince and Princess of Wales are as well, which is good to see. And it's nice to know, I think, that sort of losing the late Queen and having seen the amazing pictures over the years of the Queen bringing her family, and now we're seeing the now King bringing his family and their children as well. It was just a lovely moment. It was just a genuine, heartfelt moment, I think, for the family, which is important, I think, for Britain. And knowing that the King's speech is coming up in a few hours' time, I know now the press office at the palace like everybody to know exactly what's going to be said and where it's going to happen, which I think is slightly a shame, because I think it was always nice to be able to get the family together at 3 o'clock and go, what's the Queen going to say and where's she going to say it from? Which I think the press office have taken away slightly from us, but perhaps they feel
Jack,
to let people know in advance. But no, lovely pictures and lovely to see them.
And Jack, we also saw in some of those pictures just now, we've got Prince George, Prince Louis and also Princess Charlotte there at the front of the royal family's procession leaving the church. An incredibly difficult year for them, of course, with all the health concerns that we've been discussing. But they were also mobbed with support. Lots of gifts and flowers for them too.
Well, this is, like I say, it's exactly as we've seen. You know, we've seen the King go through a really difficult year. He's taken on this massive role and suddenly found out that he's suffering from cancer. We then find out that the Princess of Wales is having a similar problem, and she's obviously had to take time out. I know the King had to take time out, and you know, here they are. At the end of the year, really trying to push and show that they care what they're doing, and you know, pushing for families that are suffering from cancer, pushing for families struggling with families that are going through the exact same thing. And how nice it is for people to have shown that support to the whole family. Really, I think it was amazing. You even saw the Queen getting flowers, and she herself has struggled with the King, you know, having had the same problem. We saw the images when they were travelling on his first major tour of Australia. So it's good to see the support, because I think when anybody's in that situation, we all do need the support. And people say, oh, it's the royal family, they've got all the amount of money in the world, but you know, health is a very different matter. And to know that when somebody is struggling as badly as they have been, it's nice to see the support that they are receiving.
Absolutely. Jack Stooks, thank you so much for joining us this afternoon, and a very Merry Christmas to you as well.
And to you.
Thanks, Jack. Well, joining us now is our Christmas panel, commentator Paula London and the former Labour advisor Matthew Torbit. Paula, I want to start with you, because we spoke a lot about the royals in the last hour, but let's pick up on a story you've brought out, which is Baileys becoming the Christmas tipple in Mexico.
It's very surprising, because it's around 24 degrees in Mexico, and we do associate Baileys with Christmas, you know, in cold UK. But they actually love Baileys. I think they're probably a bit sick of tequila as well. I mean, I hate tequila. The smell of it, I think, is revolting. So it's completely different. You can have more opposing drinks. But also, a fun fact, although Baileys is called an Irish cream, it was invented in London by a guy called Tom, and he also invented Malibu as well. And they called it Baileys because the drink's was opposite a place called Baileys.
A very talented man, apparently. There we are. Matthew, what do we make of Baileys? Are you a Baileys man or are you a tequila man?
I was never really a Baileys man. Tequila, yeah, not some. Yeah, it depends.
Yeah,
depends how many I'd had beforehand, I'd imagine.
Are you a Christmas Day drinker? Or?
No, so I stopped drinking 2 years ago, actually.
Oh.
But I was a Christmas Day drinker. Yeah, it's probably why I don't drink anymore, actually. I think the interesting thing about this, are you two guys into Baileys?
I don't mind it. I can take it or leave it. But it's in a baby Guinness, isn't it, Baileys? That's the shot that you do with, and it's got Tia Maria.
Because the reason it appears to have picked up in Mexico is they were quite clever with their marketing. They did a limited edition churro flavour because they love the churro desserts over there.
Oh,
I don't know how that sounds, to be honest with you.
Cinnamony, I would imagine.
Quite possibly, yeah. And it's picked up in India as well because they've been trying to get people to use it in traditional desserts come Diwali time. So Bailey's taking over, much like Guinness. Guinness is now the most popular drink in the UK, I think.
Well, no wonder. There's been a shortage, hasn't there, in the run-up to Christmas of Guinness? You can't get a pint of Guinness for love nor money.
Quite.
Matthew, I want to come to you now on another story. This is about Bear Grylls. He's been blasted online, hasn't he? What's happened there?
He's been saying that Mary and Jesus, or hinting that Mary and Jesus were Palestinian refugees, which, you know, celebrities say stupid things, and this is no different in a way. It's historically inaccurate. I think Palestine wasn't recognised as Palestinia until about 100, 200 years after Jesus and Mary. I think it's fair enough to sort of try and get people interested or to reflect on those that are going through awful times, really, in the Middle East on both sides, particularly in the war on Gaza. But he's just put his foot in his mouth a bit, which I don't think you'd advise on a survival show, to be honest with you.
Paula, Mary and Joseph, they were Jews from Judea. Jesus, King of the Jews, King of the Israelites, as we've originally told this at this time of year, obviously, during the festive period. Why do you think Bear Grylls has said this? What could possibly be his inspiration behind this statement?
Well, I was actually quite offended myself when I read this on Twitter yesterday. But I just think he's trying to jump on the Palestine bandwagon for some reason, and then he's backtracked. Now, rather than saying they're from Palestine, he said they're from the Middle East now. But a lot of people were furious because, obviously, we've got the Christian holiday and the Jewish holiday. But, I mean, I don't have too much respect for him. I mean, he drinks urine, so I don't really take much sense what he's talking about. I don't take much notice of him. So.
Not a Bailey's drink.
No, I was going to say, yeah.
I just think...
That's an odd choice. I'd much rather have either Bailey's or tequila.
Yeah, well, he does drink urine, so I don't really care what he thinks it's not.
Deary me. And we'll go on to another story now, Matthew, because the average Briton causes 23 times more CO2 on Christmas Day, a study has revealed. That seems an inordinate difference. How can that be?
Well, I was in Sainsbury's yesterday, and it totally makes sense because everyone goes a bit crackers for it all. And I made the mistake, like a typical bloke, because there was something not quite left for Christmas dinner, like a lot of blokes, no doubt. And I think the one thing I'd say is people... I spoke to my mum about it this morning. She said, I just can't be bothered. There's so much pressure, the feeling of pressure placed on families at Christmas, whether it be about Christmas presents that the kids want and people are struggling this time of year, or the food and everything else. Everyone's family is as mental as the other. We're all very dysfunctional. You will not have this picture postcard Christmas that we've all made up. Just enjoy being together today if you're fortunate enough to be together, and don't worry about the rest of it.
Oh, Matthew, I had Tim Stanley, a friend of the channel, regular viewer, the Telegraph commentator. He said he went to Sainsbury's yesterday and it looked like the sacking of Constantinople. It was absolute chaos.
It was. I thought it looks like somebody has dived into every aisle head first, and there was basically very little left.
It's always that way, though, isn't it? I don't know why people don't expect it.
No.
The run up to Christmas, it's always mental, no matter where you go.
More planning will go a long way. Well,
indeed.
Paula London, thank you very much. Matthew Torbett, we'll be seeing you later, I'm sure. But before we go to a break, we've got a beautiful bit of singing for you. Here is the Vocal Zone Voice Studio Choir from South Derbyshire with Once in Royal David City. That was, of course, away in a manger, not once in Royal Davis City, which is what I promised you. But there we go, beautiful
still
singing on the list.
Beautiful, yes,
Lovely.
exactly. Now, a bit of a gear change from that gorgeous Christmas song, because hundreds of migrants are currently attempting to cross the English Channel by small boats this Christmas Day morning.
Now, GB News can confirm 350 small boat migrants have crossed the English Channel so far on Christmas Day, and this comes after we exclusively revealed yesterday that thousands of migrants were massing along the northern coast of France, preparing to cross to Britain over the Christmas period.
Well, our Home and Security editor, Mark White, joins us now. Now, Mark, in the last hour you talked about red days. Just explain to our viewers at home what a red day is and why it's so significant today.
It really means effectively a red alert day, a day in which Border Force has to be ready for significant numbers crossing. Effectively, it means that the weather conditions in the channel are just right, optimum for these boats coming across. Wind is what the small boats clearly do not want, because they're just not up to crossing the channel when the waves get up. So they want as calm a condition as possible. So when the winds die right down, as they are at the moment, to just 2 or 3 miles an hour, then that is sort of prime optimum conditions for the people smugglers to push these boats out. And that's what they call the red days. There are about 5, maybe 6 red days in a row now, from today right through until Monday, where conditions will be suitable for these boats to make it across. And today, we've seen, you're looking there at exclusive video that GB News has obtained right out in the middle of the channel. One of these small boats absolutely packed out to the gunnels there.
It's heaving.
One of the Border Force rescue vessels with the blue light flashing, intercepting that vessel. You can see, even though the winds have died down a bit, it takes a little while, sometimes a day, for the kind of flat, calm conditions to come in. It's still a bit choppy out there, and when you've got a boat like that that's packed out, it's clearly still extremely dangerous.
Mark, that is a very busy small boat. This has been an ongoing trend, hasn't it, with these boats being increasingly overladen with migrants. What's causing that trend?
Well, we've seen over the years the numbers, the boats get a bit bigger, the numbers on the boats get a bit bigger. Averages out about 50 now per boat. But we've seen a trend where African migrants in particular have been unwilling or unable to pay the people smugglers, and instead they have been storming the beaches as these boats have been launching with, say, 50-odd paying customers. And then you see a very dangerous situation of sometimes up to 100 migrants packed onto these boats. They're not seaworthy at all. When they get offshore, sometimes they just collapse in on themselves. People are tossed into the water, and that's why this year we have seen a record year for the number of deaths in the Channel. More than 60 people have died in the English Channel through various incidents over the course of the last year.
We've seen pictures there, Mark, of one of those small boats being intercepted. What will happen now that they have been intercepted by Border Force?
Well, this is what makes many people, especially our audience, extremely angry, because they see people being picked up and they say that Border Force RNLI lifeboats are effectively being used as a taxi service, because what happens is they're taken to the UK and they're taken for processing at Dover, and then they enter the UK asylum system. And what many people would like to see happen is that they get turned round immediately and sent back to France.
And Mark, you have another programme coming up on the channel today, a review of all the stories that you've been covering, the channel's been covering this year in Home Affairs. Small boats will be a big part of that, of course. What can we expect from that hour?
Yeah, you can see some pictures previewing that show. It's been an absolutely tumultuous year. So a show that features your work as well, guys, because it has been a really busy year for all of us here at GB News, in covering wars and covering, of course, the ongoing migrant crisis, scandals plaguing the BBC, the Post Office, Mohammed Al Fayed and the like. I mean, it has been a very busy year, and at 2 o'clock you can see that year in review here on GB News.
Well, I'll be driving back up north during that programme, but I'll make sure to catch up, particularly because I want to see everything you've been doing this year, Mark.
You know, it'll be on GB News Radio, simulcast.
Maybe I'll listen along during the actual live programme and then watch it back later on.
Nice.
Mark, thank you so much for joining us as
Thanks,
ever.
Mark.
Thank you.
Thank you. Now, this is Merry Christmas Britain on GB News. There's lots more coming up on today's show, including the future of our Christmas pudding. Does it feature in your festive meal? Stay tuned. We'll be back in just a moment.
Sunday with Michael Portillo from 11, only on GB News.
Britain's Royal Collection of Art is one of the most important and largest in the world. And it's also one of the last great European royal collections to remain intact. And built up over many centuries, it has extraordinary depth. And curators have delved into its riches to produce an exhibition of Italian drawings between 1450 and 1600. There are household names here: Michelangelo, Leonardo da Vinci. Some of the drawings are complete works in themselves. Some are studies for images that would appear in much larger pieces. And some are anatomical studies which enabled these artists to draw the human form in all its perfection.
This is the earliest drawing in the exhibition of around 1450, and it's made by Fra Angelico, the great Florentine painter. It may seem an obvious thing to say, but we only have drawings like this if they have survived. And these drawings were not seen at the time as works of art. They were workshop studies. They were as functional as a hammer or a paintbrush, if you like, in the workshop. But the fact that a drawing would survive from 1450 to the present day shows that first it was useful, and it was a work that would have been referred to constantly in the artist's studio, and only later was it valued by collectors as an exemplar of the artist's genius, if you like, the way in which we might think of it today. So a drawing like this, which is in almost perfect condition, has got a history of being valued for different reasons from when it was produced to the present.
GB News, the People's Channel.
We're proud to be GB News, the People's Channel, and as you know, we always love to hear your views. Now, there's a new way of getting in touch with us at gbnews.com/your-say. By commenting, you can be part of a live conversation and join our GB News community. You can even talk to me, Bev Turner, or any of the members of the GB News family.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
Merry Christmas, Britain. Welcome back to the programme. Now, what dessert will you be tucking into after Christmas dinner today?
Now, it's traditional for many Brits to serve up Christmas pudding.
Well, it might be losing its place at the table. That would be a big loss, wouldn't it? Anna Riley has more on this story.
Christmas pudding. It's a traditional dessert staple on Christmas Day. And here at Farmer Copley's in Yorkshire, it's made and matured months ahead of the big day.
It's full of fruit, a stout, spices. They're the main three ingredients. But the traditional pudding's got to have 13 ingredients.
Harry Knox, as governor of Chelsea Hospital, took first stir at the Christmas pudding, and after that they all joined in.
Despite its heritage, our love for Christmas pud is lacking. The Royal Mint found 6 in 10 people surveyed snub the festive classic. But at this farm shop, there's been no downturn in sales of the sweet.
such an iconic part of Christmas. I think the pudding will always be there, although we're seeing a lot of Generation Z and the millennials, they're always going for something a bit quirky, so a twist. That's sort of their ownership of the Christmas pudding. So that's where we're seeing some traditional flavours, but I think most people will still be going for a Christmas pudding. Even if they buy it and they don't eat it on Christmas Day, they'll be eating it on Boxing Day.
The people of Pontefract told us which dessert they took into on Christmas Day.
Well, it's Christmas pudding and brandy sauce.
I'm not really a big fan of Christmas pudding, the traditional one. I get a bit of few mucky looks for having profiteroles around the Christmas dinner table because everyone else has Christmas pudding.
Chocolate gateau and double cream, and then we'll have a Christmas chocolate log.
I'm not keen on Christmas pudding. I prefer the trifle and the cheesecake.
Proper Christmas pudding with brandy sauce.
Could the Christmas classic really become a thing of the past? Well, the proof is in the pudding. Anna Riley, GB News.
Lovely stuff, Anna. And there's more food chat coming up because you're watching Merry Christmas Britain on GB News. And up next, we're going to have Aidan McGee, who has been cooking up a storm. Before that, we're going to have our news headlines with Tatiana Sanchez.
Charlie, thank you very much and good afternoon. The top stories. The King attended the royal family's traditional Christmas Day church service after a brutal year in which he and the Princess of Wales both were diagnosed with cancer. The King and Queen Camilla walked the short distance from Sandringham House to St Mary Magdalene Church past a crowd of well-wishers. They were joined by the Prince and Princess of Wales and their children, the Prince and Princess Royal and the Duke and Duchess of Edinburgh, also part of that walking party. Absent, though, was the Duke of York, who's been accused of having links to an alleged Chinese spy. Meanwhile, King Charles is set to break with tradition today, delivering his annual Christmas message from a former hospital chapel. And you can watch the King's message live here on GB News at 3 o'clock. The Archbishop of York emerged smiling from his Christmas Day service in the North Yorkshire city to greet well-wishers and tourists outside the Minster. The Archbishop of York, who will effectively take over as leader of the Church of England next month, has called for change in his Christmas sermon. Stephen Cottrell delivered his remarks as the Church faces criticism over failures in its handling of various abuse scandals. Archbishop of Canterbury Justin Welby resigned last month after he was criticised for not doing enough to stop a prolific abuser. Earlier this week, Mr Cottrell acknowledged that things could have been handled differently after revelations that a priest at the centre of a sexual abuse case was twice reappointed under him while he was serving as Bishop of Chelmsford. And breaking news this hour, GB News can confirm that at least 350 migrants have crossed the English Channel in small boats so far on Christmas Day. Several boats were seen making the dangerous journey from France this morning, with more expected to follow over the course of the day. Those who arrived in Dover following early hours crossings broke a period of more than a week when no small boats had been spotted. Well, it comes after GB News exclusively revealed yesterday that thousands of migrants were massing along the northern coast of France, preparing to cross to the UK over this Christmas period. Those are the latest GB News headlines for now. More in half an hour.
Hello there, a very Merry Christmas from all of us here at the Met Office. This is your latest GB News weather forecast. Any hopes of a white Christmas certainly have been dashed this year with mild conditions widespread across the UK. In fact, we have provisionally seen the mildest start to Christmas Day for Scotland and Northern Ireland. Temperatures here haven't dropped much below 11 degrees Celsius. These mild conditions will remain with us right throughout the day. Top temperatures on the thermometer as well are likely to be in the range of 11 to 13 degrees Celsius for most of us. Although mild, it does come with quite a lot of cloud across a lot of the UK, so some grey skies certainly in there, but there will be a few breaks to watch out for. So parts of the Midlands, areas of Lincolnshire, Yorkshire and up towards Northumberland, eastern areas of Scotland also have the chance of seeing a few sunnier breaks at times. But for the northwest of Scotland, it is certainly going to be a wetter and damper Christmas. Raincoat needed for any outdoor festivities here, with gales along coastal areas as well, so quite a windy day to come. Those winds will gradually ease off as we head throughout this evening and overnight. We'll start to see this rain band pushing its way slightly further southwards, more into mainland areas of Scotland, and eventually spreading into parts of Northern Ireland as well, as we do move towards dawn on Boxing Day. Elsewhere, it's largely dry now. A few spots of drizzle underneath some of this thickest cloud. We might see some fog patches in there as well. If you do manage to see a few cloud breaks, temperatures down into the mid-single figures, but otherwise, most of us, again, are certainly going to be frost-free to start off Boxing Day. For many of us, it's a reasonably similar day to what we're experiencing today, particularly England and Wales. A few of those cloud breaks in there again. Northern Ireland and Scotland perhaps seeing a few more outbreaks of rain tomorrow compared to today, and the far north of Scotland actually potentially seeing a few sunnier breaks developing. And it's here where we'll start to see some cooler conditions moving its way in, 8 or 7 degrees Celsius. And those fresher, cooler conditions look like they could eventually sweep their way further southwards as we head over the forthcoming days. Enjoy your Christmas day. Bye-bye.
I'm Christopher Hope. From pop stars to politicians, I'll interview anybody in a pub who's got a political opinion. Join me every Friday on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube or gbnews.com, or wherever you get your podcasts. This is GB News, the People's Channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Every Saturday, 10 till 12, we'll bring you all of the news that you need to know. We'll also remind you that there is so much to smile about.
It's my favourite time of the week. I get to relax, enjoy some light-hearted stories, and let Ellie teach me about fashion too.
That's Saturday Morning Live, every Saturday, 10 till 12.
Only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Merry Christmas, Britain. The time is 1:36, and you're joining us here on GB News with Sophie Reaper and Charlie Peters.
Now, viewers have been getting in touch today to send photos of them celebrating Christmas Day with their pets. So let's have a look.
It's my favourite bit.
So Merry Christmas to everyone at GB News from Arthur the Cavapoo with his presents. How many presents has Arthur got?
Arthur is spoiled. Oh, I'm envious.
Very lucky. We also have another one, a clan at Christmas. What are their names there, Sophie?
Oh... This
Elmo.
is Elmo, I'm being told in my ear. Elmo is gorgeous. I love a ginger cat.
Very smart.
It's gorgeous.
Very lovely face. And we've got one more from Abercrave, Swansea, is that?
Is that right?
That's
quite a lot of dogs. Is that one household? Oh, that's the clan of Christmas dogs.
That is quite the clan.
And I think that one in the middle, is that dog in the middle wearing a hoodie? A Supreme hoodie.
Oh, that's super smart.
That dog's better dressed than me.
We've got the last one here. Oh, right, OK. That's a serious Santa's little helper energy coming from this.
I think that was Fugly, and then this is Nala. The first one wasn't Fugly.
From Abercrave, Swansea, I believe. Very smart pet there. And there's a little Santa in the corner as well.
Very festive.
Super grand. Well, let's bring it back to the studio now because we're joined by Superman himself, the one, the only. It's Aidan McGee.
Good to see you both. Merry Christmas.
Merry
Fantastic
Christmas,
to be here. Let me
Aidan.
just stand up because I'll explain. I did do this a few hours earlier. But
brilliant.
Superman, S-O-U-P.
Superman.
My niece and nephews prepared me for this last year because I did tomato and orange last year and chestnut the year before. But this year, as you can see in front of you, you've got pear and celeriac. Now, don't stand in the ceremony. Pass that one over to me because that's a small one. I've had quite a lot today.
I'm very excited.
And then help yourself to bread. That's 3 cheese bread.
Cheers,
and
team.
as I say, pear and celeriac with garnishing.
I'm going to dip some bread rather than just drinking it straight out of the cup.
There's some Irish butter on that as well, so it's good.
Now, I will say, I've had quite a bad chest infection recently. Charlie's been griefing me all day for my coughing, so I'm excited for this.
Lucky boy.
I want you to be honest.
That's delicious, mate.
Promise?
You've done a great job.
Okay.
So celeriac has been a big part of my childhood because my parents went off carbs.
Tell me about that. Go on, tell me. I found this really interesting.
It was like 5 years. My parents got really upset by the prospect of having potatoes and everything, and so it was just mashed celeriac for ages. Through the blender. And do you know what? I had a long time where I couldn't stand the mere mention of celeriac. But Superman, I have to say, you've done a pretty great job here.
People actually calling me Superman. It's amazing. I never thought I'd
I'm
reach
really
that
impressed.
stage. But look, I just believe in soup as a starter for Christmas because sometimes the starters I've seen are a little bit too weighty, a little bit too bulky. Yeah. And unless you want to wait an hour between your starter and your main course, then I think you need something light. I wouldn't have bread with the main with
I was
with
just
the
going to say
starter.
that. I have to hold myself back.
How many times did your mum say to you, "Don't fill up on bread"?
Yep.
You know, and you've
And
said
I
your mum
somehow always
said
do.
that.
Don't fill up on celeriac.
Yeah, exactly. so yeah, that's what I think is right. You have to remember that the main course is bulky, and we tend to pile on more and more and more. And there's celery in that as well, traditional celery.
Yes.
There's celeriac, as I mentioned. There's pear juice. There's
pear
garlic.
is an interesting ingredient. I've never heard of that before.
Though, Aidan. Let's
Sorry?
some
Go on, then, let's have a look. There you go. That's last night. It's been hard at work last night in my kitchen. And that's the celeriac there. Just in the squares on the right-hand side, we've got the onions and the little bit of steam there. Look, steamy windows. And then on the left-hand side, we've got some... And there you go, mix it up there. I'm trying a bit slow there so you can make out what's in there. But that's mainly... That's the ingredients just beforehand. So it's cooked in mineral water, as you can see there.
Oh, very posh.
From Royal Deeside in Scotland.
You should get Aidan a lordship title, I think.
I feel like...
And you've got the bread. The bread is all set up there. So that's the right at the start of the process. That's the empty pans there. I drove all the way to Swansea 3 years ago to buy those pans because they match my colour scheme in my house.
Dedication.
And there's me presenting...
Is that your kitchen, Aidan? That is gorgeous.
It's not actually. It's my brother's.
Oh,
I'm going there this afternoon.
Oh, very nice.
I want to be in that.
Well, Aidan, we have to speak to you about sport because obviously that's usually what we speak to you about, isn't it? Now we've talked about soup, we'll move on to the sport. Darts.
Yes.
Now, I know
you were there on Sunday?
We were both there on Sunday. You were in hospitality, I was not.
You were shouting to me, boring tables.
Yes.
It wasn't boring.
No, we were on the tables as well. We had a table. But it was a bit of shock, wasn't it, Gary Anderson?
Yes, it was
I
a bit
was
of a shock.
not expecting that.
No, he was the one I was expecting to really go through. But, I mean, let me give you some context here. I covered it 20 years ago when it was at the Circus Tavern in Purfleet. There were 600 people there, Charlie. And Barry Hearn said to me, we're thinking of taking it to Ali Pally. It's getting quite big. And there are going to be 6,000 people there. And I said, look, Barry, that's all well and good, and I can understand why you want to get the coin through the door and get the people through the door. But back in 06, 07, darts was going through a little bit of a challenge. But there were green shoots of recovery, and this was the next stage. The next stage to get it to the Ali Pally. It's a bit of a rundown arena, as you probably saw the other night, especially the Palm Court entrance.
Sure.
And so I said, you're going to lose the pub atmosphere there, and if you can't recreate that, I don't think it's going to work. That was my opinion, and I was spectacularly wrong.
I was going to say, the atmosphere, woof.
The next stage is to probably take it into a stadium. And there aren't many stadia in this country that have roofs. I think you could see open-air darts, as long as they can control the elements. And Luke Littler, as somebody who's pushed it into a different stratosphere altogether.
Yeah.
Ticket sales are up 83% on last year. They were like gold dust last year. I mean, I
sold out in 15
I don't know
minutes.
how we got our tickets so good. Like, it was amazing, really. Where we were sat right at the front, to the right of the stage, it was amazing.
And so he's earned like £1 million already this year. I think he.
Do you think he'll win? Speaking of Littler,
I think he will. I think he's looking imperious at the moment. I really do. But I think it's going to be the two Lukes, isn't it?
Yes.
I don't see anybody.
I was going to ask, who do you think will join him?
I do. And but just the scale of the event is absolutely extraordinary at the moment. I couldn't have predicted that it would ever manifest itself in that way, because 20 years ago I was struggling to get it into the sports pages. Let alone, I mean, we were quite creative with some of the stories, I'll be honest with you. We got them on the front page of The Sun, The Mirror, etc. And Phil the Power Taylor was always very helpful to us, because although he didn't need the publicity, he didn't need the money, he did it for his other professionals. And there was one story we stunted up, and even when he was asked about it 3 years later, he actually went along with it and maintained the pretense, which could have landed us in trouble, but didn't in the end. But it was all about getting darts back into the mainstream, because when I was a kid, they were, with Eric Bristow, who actually discovered Phil Taylor, Jockey Wilson, all these guys. It was in the mainstream, and it was on terrestrial TV, and they were getting audiences in the probably around 15, 16 million.
Aidan, you're wearing a QPR jumper
yes.
today. You're talking about maybe darts could move into a stadium. I imagine your festive dream would be a darts at Loftus Road situation.
Loftus Road would actually not be a bad solution, because it's just about small enough. Don't forget, Barry McGuigan in 1985 won the world featherweight title there against Emilio Pedrosa. So it has held non-sporting events before. Some would argue that QPR play a lot of non-football these days as well. But we're in action tomorrow away to Swansea, Norwich on Sunday. Busy weekend for us. 7 matches unbeaten, just 2 goals conceded. we're on the up, I can tell you that.
There's a lot more football coming up as well on Boxing Day, but we're having a time for that. But we do have time to talk about QPR. So thank you, Aidan.
Great to see you both.
Absolute pleasure.
Have a great day.
Thank you, and thank you for the soup.
Merry Christmas to both of you. No problem at all.
A lovely soup.
Neck it down and let us know what it's like.
Well, we will when we go to a break. I'll be ladylike and drink it at the break.
Well, this is Merry Christmas Britain on GB News. There's lots more coming up for the rest of the show, including some shocking statistics on the rate of animal abandonment during the Christmas period. We're going to have a dog in this studio just after this break. Don't go anywhere. See you soon.
Britain's newsroom, weekday mornings from 9:30.
Maria, potholes are the bane of everybody that uses the road, whether you're a car driver or a cyclist. As a cyclist, are even worse. How have we got into this situation where our roads are in such a bad state?
Well, part of it is to do with actually our climate. In somewhere like, say, Sweden, like the snow will fall on the ground, it will stay there for months. Whereas here we've got what's called a freeze-thaw climate, where the water comes down, then we might have a cold snap and it freezes, and the water within the pothole will then expand and make the pothole bigger. Then we might have a mild spell, and then that process repeats. So, we do actually need extra funding to acknowledge the fact that, we just live in a climate where we're sort of particularly vulnerable to potholes.
Why? I mean, the fact that this happens, these weather conditions happen, is no great surprise to anybody. Why has the problem been ignored for so long?
I think what's happened is we've had short-term funding. So it's like, oh, there's a pothole, let's patch it up. Oh, there's another one, let's patch it up. But the patches aren't actually really that strong, so then they break down again. So, really what we need is to have roads completely resurfaced, and then they'll just be pothole-free for a very long time. And that really is how funding should be. That's the direction funding should go in, as opposed to just sort of like dribs and drabs here and there.
Do you think this government are going to be good for the motorist, or is there indeed a war on the motorist still?
The different parties come in and they've all got different policies that they wheel out, then they cancel the policies, and then there's so much lack of transparency. Like, for example, with the pothole issue, sometimes the government, whichever government is in office, will do some big showboating about how they're going to give X amount of potholes, and you still think that sounds really good.
GB News, the People's Channel.
It's Patrick Christie's Tonight, and here we do things differently.
It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it?
It's explosive.
I mean, this is very good.
It's lively.
850. Your government sat there, Sean, and it did nothing.
It's controversial.
And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born.
It's everything you need to kickstart your evening.
Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it.
That's Patrick Christie's Tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Camilla Tominey, for a frank and honest discussion with those in power that cuts through the spin and gets to the heart of the issues shaping our nation.
You haven't confirmed that you want to stand as leader, but you haven't ruled it out either.
This report basically says that he's not fit to stand trial. Is he indecisive? Incompetent? I deliver the dose of reality Westminster needs. That's the Camilla Tominey Show at 9:30 every Sunday on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Merry Christmas, Britain. Welcome back. I hope you're having a lovely Christmas day at home. We certainly are, aren't we, Sophie?
We are indeed. And you're joining us now on the sofa for a very special reason. Now, while pets are a great gift for your loved ones this Christmas, they do, of course, come with responsibility.
Now, in the past week alone, Google searches for puppies as a present have shot up by 82%.
Shocking.
Yeah.
But latest figures also show that over 4,000 pets were abandoned in the period from November 2023 to January of this year.
Well.
So, shall we join our guests now, our very special guests? Dilly Williamson, thank you so much for joining us.
Welcome, happy Christmas.
Would you like to introduce our special guests?
So this is Hazel, the Cavapuchon, highly trained, fabulous family dog. She is the perfect dog. Her nickname is Robo-Dog, because she's so perfect. She's like a robot. And this is Cindy, and she is wire-haired Dachshund, still in phantom pregnancy.
Phantom pregnancy?
Yes, she thinks she's pregnant, and that's going to last about 10 weeks, I think.
Dilly, how have you worked out that she's in phantom pregnancy?
Because her behaviours say so, and she has milk in her breasts, and She pretends that she's got puppies with her toys, and then she nests. There's certain behaviours that come with phantom pregnancies that are quite obvious. So until that phantom's over, we can't really do much with her in terms of training.
Let's talk about the fact that it's Christmas Day, of course, 25th. A very exciting day. But lots of people today will have been given not just dogs, but pets of all manner as gifts. How important is it that people recognise that pets are, of course, not just a gift given on Christmas Day or on a birthday or whatever special occasion it might be? How important is it that people recognise the responsibility that comes with being a pet owner?
It's very important, and it's really the responsibility of the giver, because, you know, you have to think about who you're giving it to. Can they cope with it? Is it sensible? Is that what they wanted? Is it just for you? There's so many elements to this, but it's a very serious thing. And as we know, unfortunately, the rescue centres are going to be heaving. They're heaving anyway. They're going to be heaving even more after Christmas. So it's a really, really, you know, big decision to buy a pet for someone that's not expecting it.
But, you know, pets should be a sign of great joy for a family. You're bringing a new life into your world, something to care for so long.
Yeah, that's great if you're ready for it and you can cope with it. They're fantastic.
And do you think people know enough about the responsibilities that are associated
I think
with
it's,
looking
you know,
after a
it's
dog,
always a shock. It's always a shock.
Especially a puppy, they say, don't they? Or a kitten or whatever it might be.
I think the shock with puppies is the amount of time you have to spend with them. And as they get older, the cost, it's enormous. You know, if you insure your dog, the food, the bedding, everything, and the time. The time is the biggest element that people don't really have. They don't understand how long it takes to properly train a dog.
Well, I can tell you've done that. I mean, your dogs are beautifully well behaved.
Well, I do.
Earlier in the programme, we had our guest Paula describing her dog as her daughter. I mean, that just shows sort of the strong relationships that people have with their pets these days. But also, it points to what you're just saying: the time demand. They're like babies, right at the start.
They are
you have
like
to be around them
babies.
constantly.
They are like babies, and sometimes, you know, it causes quite a lot of problems when people think that their pets are their children, because they're not. They're animals. So that causes quite a lot of behaviour problems within itself. And yes, you know, we can say it in jest, oh, you know, like my children, but don't treat them like children, because they don't respond very well to being treated like children. They're animals, they're dogs, they should be treated like dogs.
For any of our audience who are at home today who may have received a pet as a Christmas gift, what advice would you give them in terms of the very basics, or perhaps if it's the first time they've ever had an animal, what would you give them as the basic advice for making sure they take care of their pet appropriately?
I would say the first thing you need to do is get that dog insured immediately before you have any issues. The second thing is source out a really responsible training programme, either a one-to-one or a class nearby you. You've got to train the puppy responsibly and properly. Start with really practical things. Don't teach it paw, don't teach it to jump up. Start with its name, and then obviously if it's a puppy, we need to teach it where to go to the toilet. They're the first.
That's a big one.
That's a big one. But, you know, with little dogs like this, sometimes it's not a big one because they only do little deposits and you can just, oh, you know, don't care. I've never met a client that's had a problem with a Great Dane not going to the toilet outside, because people make the effort.
I bet they do,
yeah,
absolutely.
Exactly. But the toilet thing is the first thing. Name, toilet, that's it. And you should really know, you should be aware how much rest puppies need. Don't go showing them off to everybody in the park. You know, they need to sleep a massive part of the day. That puppy should be in a sleep schedule so they're not irritated or aggravated. They can grow properly because they're getting their suitable rest. Those are really important things that people don't realise.
Lots of advice there, isn't there? Lots of advice.
And I want just one more piece of advice from you, Dilly. When you're kind of entrusting people with a pet and asking them to consider them as a gift, do you say that people should go to shelters first to reduce the burden on them?
You know, that would be the ideal scenario, but people don't. People with children are very wary about getting dogs from shelters, which is a shame, really, because they're not always dangerous, they're not always badly behaved. It could be just circumstances. But, yes, that would be the ideal if you're choosing it for yourself. I wouldn't necessarily say go and buy a sheltered dog, you know, as a gift for a young family, but I wouldn't agree with buying it as a gift anyway.
Tilly, thank you so much for joining us. Merry Christmas, and Merry Christmas to the gorgeous Hazel and Cindy as well. Thank you all so much for joining us on Christmas Day. Don't forget, of course, Mark White's Year in Review is up next. He's taking a look at some of the biggest stories of the year.
Yeah, there'll be increasing migration numbers, to the controversy, of course, surrounding Mohammed Al-Fayed and the disgraced broadcaster Hugh Edwards. It'll be a difficult hour for the BBC, that one. It's been brilliant working with you today, Sophie. I had a lovely Christmas day. Made better by having a bit of soup with Aidan
yes,
towards
that
the
soup
end.
has really picked me up. I'm now about to drive back up to Bolton to spend the rest of Christmas with my family. What about yourself?
I'll be luckily getting in a taxi. His Lordship, sorry, will be getting in a taxi and going back to Surrey, which will be a treat. Looking forward to seeing if I have Yorkshire pudding in my lunch. We'll see.
Indeed. Merry Christmas to everyone at home, and thank you for joining us here on GB News.
Have a great day.
There will be a light breeze in the morning, leading to a warm front. Boxed heat pumps, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello there, good afternoon. Hope you're having a lovely Christmas. Most of us have been blessed with a dry Christmas from the weather gods, and that is all courtesy of an area of high pressure that is centred across parts of continental Europe, but it's extending its influence across areas of the UK as well, particularly the southern half, where things are generally largely dry. We do, though, have this cold front in the far northwest, which is bringing some outbreaks of rain here. Elsewhere into this evening and overnight, again, largely dry. A few spots of drizzle to watch out for, and there'll be a few cloud breaks over eastern areas as well. You might see a few fog patches around overnight. Temperatures, though, certainly underneath that cloud are not going to be too chilly for most of us, ranging between 6 and 9 degrees Celsius. As we start off Boxing Day then, that front in the far northwest will have just slipped its way a little bit further southwards, so those outbreaks of rain spreading into parts of central Scotland and also into Northern Ireland first thing in the morning. Far north of Scotland actually seeing some sunny spells to kick off the day. Further in the south for England and Wales, again, it is going to be a largely cloudy day for the vast majority. It's going to be parts of Yorkshire through into parts of north-eastern Wales, where we might see a few of those breaks in the cloud if you're to the east of some higher ground areas. Underneath the thickest cloud, I certainly can't rule out the odd spot of drizzle once again, but it should mostly be dry for much of England and Wales. Temperatures perhaps a little down compared to what we have been seeing throughout Christmas Day, but certainly still on the mild side for most of us. Again, if you're to the south of this rain band, you'll be seeing temperatures climb into double-digit figures, 10 or 11 degrees Celsius. For the north of Scotland, though, something a little cooler and fresher filtering its way in, 7 or 8 degrees Celsius here. And we're going to be watching this band of rain because it's acting as a boundary line between those cooler and milder conditions. As we head over the next few days, it looks like that front might just slowly push its way southwards into the weekend, and that will see those cooler conditions arriving for many of us. Enjoy the rest of your day. Bye-bye.
We can expect clear skies, leading to a light and warm day ahead. Lovely. Boxed Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Imagine getting the call to tell you that you've won £50,000 in tax-free cash, our biggest cash prize of the year.
Oh my God.
That's a big surprise.
Oh my God. This is amazing.
I'm in shock.
I'd say don't hesitate, do it.
For another chance to win, text cash to 63232. One entry costs £2 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63232. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start from just £2. You can call 0903 681 3232. Calls cost £2 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB10 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 6 p.m. on the 31st of January. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
I'm Christopher Hope. This is GB News, Britain's election channel.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
Now we're joined now by Sophia Viraji, the co-founder of the Azealia Foundation, which was created due to the tragic passing of her 8-month-old daughter to leukemia. The foundation is doing some incredible work for children's cancer.
Yeah, some really incredible stuff. They've just launched a PhD even where they're funding young doctors to specialise in childhood cancer as, get this, I wasn't aware of this, it's one of the most underfunded areas in the NHS. So not many sectors choose to go down that route, unfortunately. The charity, the foundation, have donated over £1 million worth of equipment to hospitals as well, and we're delighted to welcome Sophia. You've turned a tragedy and grief into triumph, I guess, and something so inspiring. Just tell us about that. Do you recognise that in yourself and the work you're doing?
Yeah, I'm here to always honour my daughter and to always continue her name, her legacy, and to support all of these other children fighting against childhood cancer.
It was all over social media. I mean, you were at one point probably one of the most famous families in this country because of Azalea and Azalea's fight. When you look back now at that time, does it give you comfort that you had so many people behind you?
Absolutely. The community that we have got, the humanity that we've seen in the UK and all around the world, in fact, has really touched my heart, and that kindness, love and support has always been the backbone of carrying me through this, to give me hope, to give me belief, and it still inspires me and encourages me till today to continue to do that, to show that light, to show that courage and bravery.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Good afternoon. The top stories. The King attended the royal family's traditional Christmas Day church service today. That's after a brutal year in which he and the Princess of Wales were both diagnosed with cancer. The King and Queen Camilla walked the short distance from Sandringham House to St Mary Magdalene Church past a crowd of well-wishers. And they were joined by the Prince and Princess of Wales and their children, the Princess Royal and the Duke and Duchess of Edinburgh, also part of that walking party. Absent, though, was the Duke of York, who's been accused of having links to an alleged Chinese spy. Meanwhile, King Charles is set to break with tradition today, delivering his annual Christmas message from a former hospital chapel. And you can watch the King's message here live on GB News at 3 o'clock. GB News can confirm that at least 350 migrants have crossed the English Channel in small boats so far on Christmas Day. Several boats were seen making the dangerous journey from France this morning, with more expected to follow over the course of the day. Now, those who arrived in Dover following early hours crossings broke a period of more than a week when no small boats had been spotted. Now, this all comes after GB News exclusively revealed yesterday that thousands of migrants were massing along the northern coast of France, preparing to cross to the UK in small boats over the Christmas period. And finally, swimmers across the nation have braved the chilly waters as they celebrate Christmas Day with a festive plunge. Many swimmers turned out in support of various charity causes, with others simply enjoying a festive tradition. Sea surface temperatures across the country were between 8 degrees and 11 degrees, according to the Met Office. But plucky bathers, including many dressed as Father Christmas, snowmen and elves, woke up early this morning to take the plunge. And these are some of those swimmers in Bournemouth, if you're watching us on television. The enduring Peter Pan Cup was also strongly attended in London's Hyde Park, with swimmers taking part in the world's oldest annual swimming event. And those are the latest GB News headlines for now. I'm Tatiana Sanchez.